Hello, good morning and good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining for yet again India's MacAdmin virtual meetup. I know today that it's raining heavily in different parts of India, and few of you have pinged me and tell me that due to heavy rainfalls, they will not be able to turn up. So don't worry, I have a recording for you which you can see later. So let's start. So yeah, we have agenda. Again, it is similar introduction, Apple updates, Jamp update, and then the main topic, which is device compliance. How to use, device compliance within Jamp Pro for Mac OS. What are the benefits, and what is different between Intune conditional access and device compliance? For introduction, my name is my name is Salim Ukani. I have 15 plus years of experience both in Mac and Windows platform. I am an MDM engineer. I am JAMP 400 certified now. Very happy for that. And I like to collaborate and share with community. And that's where I start this community and we are here. Apple updates. As per latest update from Apple, the latest version of iOS and iPad OS is 16.4.1 and Mac OS it is 13.3.1. If you had joined my previous sessions, which is monthly, I called out that when you upgrade your Mac from Mac OS 12.2.2 or 2.1 to Mac OS 13.3, you see a recovery screen. And this recovery screen comes with a combination. The combination is if you have file vault, encrypted devices, and if you have a standard user in your organization, then during the update process, you will see recovery key on Apple Silicon devices. Apple has fixed this issue in macOS 13.3. That means uh, if you still upgrade from 13.2 to 13.3, you will see that behavior. This doesn't come on all Mac devices, but once you are on 13.3, going forward, you will never see this scenario. This is confirmed by Apple, so it's good news for us. I have also provided an URL over here where you can go and read about latest updates from Apple and what all security component it has. Jamp update. I prepared this slide with 10.45 previously, and as we delayed our meetup for 1 week due to Eid celebration in India, within this 1 week we got latest version of Jamp, which is 10.46. This version also brings few enhancement and a few new things, which is very good for us. So let's have a look. So 10.46 yet again enhanced the declarative status reporting. Okay. So what is declarative status reporting? Declarative status reporting is a reporting status in Jamp Pro console inventory section, which doesn't need a recon or update inventory. Okay. It updates automatically as soon as the status of that device is changed. Okay. So we have seen this option: operating system supplementary build version and operating system rapid security response enhancement for mobile devices, which is iOS devices in 10.45. And with 10.46, we see the same enhancement for Mac OS now. Okay. Jamp has also updated the expiration notification for Jamp Pro built-in CA. So if you are using Jamp Pro built-in CA, now it will also share a notification which was previously 90 days in advance. It is 360 days in advance now. But very important feature which is announced with 10.46 is lapse via Jamp Pro API. So what is lapse? Labs is local administrator password solution. Till today, there are many Mac admins who had a local administrator account on the Mac device. And that password of that local administrator password was same, unique for not unique, same for all Mac device. And if this password is compromised, your device is compromised. And there are many Mac admins who have a script which can rotate the local administrator password for them. That will give a unique password for each Mac device, and it will automatically rotate the same. So now with this update, we do not have to take a open source script or create a local administrator password with local administrator account with same password. We now have labs in Jampro. It is introduced in 10.46, but this version, which is released now, is supporting only Jampro API. That means if you want to implement this solution today, you have to create a script with API calls, and it will then rotate your local administrator password. But in near future enhancement or binary update from Jamp, they are going to also introduce Labs Jamp Pro user interface. That means you will have a UI screen where you can enter your account administrator account name, and it will help you rotate your password. Okay, so this is a security feature. It helps us, in end user privacy and sensitive data. And this feature basically leverage Apple command, and that command is set auto admin password. This is very basic. It also supports on-prem Jamp Pro. So maybe in near future, I will take one session on local administrator password solution. How can we configure or implement same in our organization? Point to note here is this solution today will work only on local administrator account, which is created during pre-stage enrollment, DEP enrollment. Many enhancement and UI is going to come. So probably once this is full-fledged, after that I will be discussing this in one of our virtual meetup. But this is very good. I am looking forward for this solution, and I believe many of you do the same. Apart from what all features Jamp Pro is announcing month on month or with version by version, I thought we should also discuss in this meeting what all features Jamp Pro is deprecating. And I'm not going to discuss everything, but I have selected 5 important ones as per me, which I should update you that okay, these are Jamp Pro features which are already deprecated or is going to deprecate in near future. So very first thing is conditional access on-premise support. We all know that Intune conditional access is deprecated for cloud and now as well as for on-premise support. And that's the reason we are going to discuss device compliance, right? We have a functionality in a policy called make this policy available offline. That is also going to be deprecated. Jamp admin application. I don't know if many people are still using it, but this particular application is going to be deprecated soon. And we are going to discuss one by one in upcoming slides of each and every line item here. Okay. Then we have Azure AD Graph for conditional access, which is going to be deprecated. Obviously, because we are moving towards device compliance and the new partner compliance API. So we don't need to stay with Azure AD Graph. And basic authentication in classic API. I think by now everyone should know that the new way or the robust way of authenticating towards API is Jampro API token based authentication and no longer basic authentication. So let's have a look, what this deprecation means to what. So conditional access on-premise support. So we all know that Jamp is going to discontinue conditional access support in future releases. The estimated removal date for conditional access removal is May 2024. As Jamp is moving away from Microsoft Partners Device Management API, we now have a new API which is called Partners Compliance Management, which is leverage with device compliance. So as we are going out of conditional access, Jamf now offers an alternate solution called Mac OS Device Compliance, which will leverage partners compliance management API. And that is the main topic for today. We are going to talk device compliance, why device compliance, how to configure it, and what are benefit out of it. As I said, in policies, we have an option to keep the policy offline available. This happens only when the policy frequency is ongoing. So if you have a policy with a frequency ongoing, you see a button like this in the screenshot which says make available offline. That means if the Mac device is not able to reach Jam Pro server on-prem or cloud, it can still run the policy because the policy is cached locally on the Mac. This feature is going to be removed by Jamf in near releases. Thought to call out that you should know that if you have policies with this option tech, you need to make sure you have an alternate option for doing the same. Make available offline string is going to be removed. Jamf admin Jamp admin application will be stopped in distribution by Jamp Pro in future releases. Estimated removal of this application is late 2023. Exact date we don't know. But Jamp has promised that the workflow which Jamp admin today do for us, like printer creation, package synchronization, package metadata editing, all these feature they will incorporate in Jamp Pro itself, and then they will remove Jamp admin. One important point in this is I always have a habit, I have a Jamf Cloud account. So I always replicate my cloud packages and script to an external drive as a backup. And that is done by Jamf admin application. So I don't know if this application is removed. Can I do it? I'm not sure. So I'm working with Jamf Pro support group to ask them if this feature of synchronizing a package from cloud to an USB stick will still be possible. I do not have an answer for this, but if you are doing the same, this is the right time you should contact Jam support and tell them we are looking for this feature. Microsoft Azure AD Graph for conditional access. And yes, Jamf will be discontinue support to Azure AD Graph for conditional access. This is purely because we are moving out of conditional access and going towards device compliance. So if Intune conditional access is no longer supported, obviously Azure AD Graph for conditional access will no longer be supported. It is deprecated in Jamf Pro. Basic authentication in Classic API. So I don't know how many people use APIs during enrollment and for their work. But if you remember, for basic authentication, we always have a curl command with -u and we provide a username and password. And then we call out the API string, either getting information from Jamf or updating an information in Jamf or creating a new entry in Jamf or deleting an entry. So this is the functionality of API. So what is changing is Jamf has deprecated basic authentication in Jamf Pro. That means any new instance which they are going to create for a new client, they will by default get basic authentication as disabled. It is no longer enabled for them. But for existing user, basic authentication is still live, and in near future, Jamf is going to remove this functionality. So if you guys want to see if basic authentication is this, what will happen if basic authentication is disabled in your organization, then you can simply go to Jamf Pro settings, Jamf Pro user accounts and groups, click on password policy, and you will have an option there which says allow basic authentication in addition to bearer token authentication. Just deselect that checkbox and see the impact in your environment. Okay. So if you see an impact, that means you need to transition from basic authentication to Jam Pro API, bearer token based authentication. I don't know if people need this, but if you guys need one session on this, please, you know, send me a alert or a question or an update in our Telegram group and tell me, hey Sam, it would be good if you can take one session on this. How can we migrate from basic authentication to Champro bearer token authentication? And I would be happy to discuss about this. With that, if you are joining this meetup for the first time, or if you are seeing this recording on YouTube and don't know how to collaborate or connect with us, this is the right time to scan your screen QR code and join our Telegram group. With that, we will go to our main topic today, device compliance for Apple devices. So, setting up device compliance is very easy, but we need to know why we need to set up device compliance and why not Intune conditional access. So I have given a URL in this page. If you go to this URL, it will give you detailed about device compliance. Okay. First thing first, we need to understand why device compliance. Very first reason is JAMF will discontinue conditional access support in future release of Jamf Pro because we are migrating away from Microsoft Partner Device Management API to Microsoft Device Compliance Management API. Okay, so this is one of the reason. In this screenshot, it says that estimated removal date is late 2023. This is an old screenshot from January, but the latest update is the estimated removal date of conditional access is May 2024. So this is one of the reason, as we are going out of conditional access, we need to configure device compliance. I don't know how many of you have already integrated Jamf Pro with Intune conditional access. But if you have, you know the challenges. With Intune conditional access into picture, we have many issues. Sometimes the browser will be not compatible. At times you see additional prompt. And if user do not enter the password correctly or if ignores the password, the device state of that conditional access policy goes to a deactivate state and user see multiple prompts, the machine goes to non-compliant state, hell lot of issues. Because in Intune conditional access, the conditional access policies and the conditional access status is checked via Intune. But with device compliance, the criteria for conditional access is checked within Champro. So you check, you see that the device is compliant or not compliant. It is done within Jampro, and Jampro then share the status with Azure AD. So nothing happens in Intune. So when you set up this integration, you will see that once the user registered their device, you will see a Mac device entry in Azure AD. You will no longer see the similar device object entry in Intune because Intune is no longer in picture. Jampro will update the compliance directly to Azure AD, and through Azure AD, the compliance status will be flagged, compliant device or a non-compliant device. And based on that, conditional access policy will be applicable on that device. So yes, Intune conditional access is going out and hence device compliance. Second main important part is this is a screenshot from one of my Microsoft call, and even Microsoft is recommending that if you are enrolled to an MDM partner, it can be Intune, it can be Jamf Pro, BlackBerry, Citrix Workspace, Mobile Iron, VMware Workspace ONE, SOTI, you need to use device compliance. Device compliance will give lesser prompts to end user. It improves the end user experience and stuff. And hence, as per recommendation from Microsoft, we also have to go towards device compliance. So here are we with device compliance. So what are we going to cover today? We are going to cover features of device compliance, what all features device compliance has. We are going to cover requirements. What are the requirements that should be there with an organization for device compliance to work correctly? We are going to discuss configuration. How are we going to configure this? And lastly, how are we going to deploy? Deploy is very easy, but main is requirement and configuration. So we have four important features as for me in device compliance. First is customizable policy. You know, we will have a custom policy in our organizing custom policy in Champro. So basically, we can define device compliance policy now in Champro. Basically, device compliance require two major smart groups. Okay, when you integrate this, you will see some screenshot coming. We need two smart groups in Champro. One is applicable group and one is compliance group. So compliance smart group is a group where we will keep criteria. Imagine I am saying for my organization, a compliant device means the device is encrypted. So I will create a smart group saying that, okay, device compliant, and the criteria would be file vault to enabled is encrypted. Okay. And the device which is part of this smart group are actually compliant device, because this is my security requirement. So this criteria which we are going to define in smart group, this is specific to organization. So whatever your organization is asking as a criteria, you can keep that criteria in Champro smart group, and this criteria and whatever device fits in this criteria, all these devices will be labeled as compliant in Azure AD. Okay. Obviously you cannot write everything. There are list of compliance criteria which you can set. If you go to the documentation link, you can see it. But if I call it out, it is encryption, it is Mac OS version, it is setting a complex password policy and stuff. Okay, so it is highly customizable. You can create a smart group with any device criteria which is required by your security. Okay, so it is customizable. You can define your own compliance criteria. Second, there is automated remediation. Yes, as it is a smart group criteria, as you know the device is compliant, you can also know which devices are not compliant. And with Jampro automations, you can build a script, you can build a solution which can automatically remediate it. Imagine for certain scenario, if you cannot automate, you can also set up an alerts where as soon as a device state change from compliant to non-compliant, it will shoot up an email to your support group stating that, okay, you know, hey, this device is not compliant. And when they click on the link, they will go to the device and they can see the non-compliance. They can either ask user to run the fix, which is available in self-service. They can do a remote session and they can fix the issue. So this is automated in nature. Visibility and reporting. Yes, it is Champro. It is highly visible compliance status, because you can always add these smart group criterias in your dashboard. And with a one view dashboard view, you can simply see how many devices are compliant and how many devices are non-compliant. It's very easy for you to see that every morning. Obviously, it is self-service enrollment. So if you are setting device compliant for the first time, um, the Azure AD registration must be happening from Jamp self-service. User has to trigger this from self-service application and register their device. Okay, so it is a self-service enrollment and user has to do it from their end. What are the requirements? As Azure AD is into picture when it comes to compliance, a minimum requirement is Microsoft Enterprise Mobility plus Security license for Azure AD or Microsoft Intune. Okay. As we are checking the device compliance in Jampro and sharing the status in Azure AD, we also need Azure AD user group to be created. Okay. Why we need Azure AD user group to be created? Because when you integrate Jampro with device compliance, there is a stage where you need to create the partner, device partner, compliance partner. During creation of that compliance partner, you will see this in screenshots. You need to select the scope or assignment for that device partner compliance, and you need to scope it to all users in your organization. But if you select the default all user which comes in the Azure AD, if you do that, Jampro will not be able to read the user identity UDID of that user, and hence Jamp recommends that you should create a separate security user group in Azure AD. Set your criteria of dynamic user, or you know whatever user you want to scope. Maybe for testing you will scope it to IT department, or maybe you create a security group for all users. Please select that created user group in assignment and don't select the default all user. Okay, so you need an Azure AD user group. Okay, device compliance support Mac OS 10.11 and later, but we all know Apple do not support 10.11 now. Apple is officially releasing a security update for Mac OS Big Sur, which is version 11 and higher. So I recommend make sure your devices are on Mac OS 11 and higher, and you have company portal app installed on the Mac. So before end user register the device to Azure AD, we need Intune company portal app, because this is an app which will authenticate end user to with your IDP, which is Azure, and then it will create or register your device to Azure AD. So company portal app is must. Okay, and if you are doing it for iOS or iPad OS, you can do the same with Microsoft Authenticator app. You need smart groups for device compliance. You need two smart groups. One is compliance smart group, where you will have criteria for a device to be called compliant, and you will have a second group called applicable group. So applicable group is basically all managed computers in your organization. Okay, you will see this in screenshots. I'll explain you there as well. Okay, one important note is, if you guys have Jam Premium Cloud Plus in your organization, then device compliance is still not ready for you, and you really need to wait, and please do not go ahead. Okay, one more call out on this section is, if you guys have already established Jam Pro with Intune for conditional access, okay, so there is no migration plan as of today from Jam Pro. You cannot migrate from Intune conditional access to device compliance today. You need to wait for Jam Pro to come back. And if you really want to test, then you need to disable Intune conditional access. First, from Jampro, delete all the device object from Intune and Azure AD, and then you can integrate device compliance, and the end user has to register again to Azure AD. These are the stuff which you need to do manually, but if you can wait, Jampro will bring you a robust workflow for migrating from Intune conditional access to device compliance. Now with that, we are going to discuss a step-to-step guide. How can you set up device compliance in your organization? I cannot share you the live video, because obviously it has the user ID and stuff, which I don't want to do. And hence I have did my best job, took some screenshot for you. So first step first, if you want to set up device compliance in your organization, you need to go to Jampro settings, global, and under that you will find device compliance. When you click it, this page will open. Very first thing you need to do is you need to turn on the switch. This is currently off. You need to enable it. As soon as you enable it, you will see under configuration section, you have two platforms. One is Mac OS, one is iOS. We are focused on Mac OS today. So we will take macOS, and here is where you need to select your compliance group and applicable group. Compliance group is a smart group which will have a calculation of device compliance. That means if my security says that any managed Mac in my organization, if the device is encrypted, that means it is compliant for me, then you will create a smart group with a criteria file vault to enable is encrypted, and you will select that smart group here. So make a note, you need to create the smart group beforehand, before enabling the device compliance settings, because you don't have to enter the name here. You have a drop down box, you will click on drop down box and you will select your groups. Okay, so you need to select your compliance group and your applicable group. So applicable group is basically, uh, it contains all your computers in Jampro, for which you need to check compliance. Make a note that if you don't want to include your VIP user or executive user initially, you can create a smart group which is focused on end users, excluding your VIP and XCOM users. Okay, so yes, those two smart groups has to be selected here, and when you click on a save button, it this integration will redirect you to Microsoft integration page, where a global administrator has to enter the credentials. And once they enter the credentials, they will see these two prompts. One is a prompt to create an application for device compliance in Azure AD. They need to accept it. And second is a prompt where it will approve user registration for device compliance. So your Azure administrator has to accept these two permissions. Once accepted, you know, you will see configure compliance partner. If you see this configure compliance partner, you see one button called open Microsoft endpoint manager, which is now Microsoft Intune manager. It has two buttons. One button is cancel and one button is confirm, which is grayed out. Okay, that means you need to click on open Microsoft endpoint manager. When you click it, it will open Intune portal, uh, and it will show you partner compliance management. This is a new API which towards which we are going through. And on this page, you need to click on add compliance partner, as I have focused with an arrow. When you click on this button, you know, you see create compliance partner, and you are currently on basic tab. In compliance partner, when you click on drop down menu, you see an option called Jamf device compliance. You need to select Jamf device compliance. Then there is a second option for platform. Under platform, we will select Mac OS because we are doing this integration for Mac OS devices. Once you select this and click on next, it will take you to assignment group. Under assignment, if you see, there is an option included group. Let me just do this for you. Oops. Ta-da, ta-da. Okay, I don't have this feature here. So if you see, we have add all user option on the left hand side, but I am not selecting that. I am adding a security group in this screen. It is CFG test group. We need to do this because if you include a group, add all user, which is by default created, the integration will not be able to read UDID, and hence we need to create a security group and select that group. Select the group, review and create the group. Once created, you will be back on this screen. It will say the compliance partner successfully created. And if you see this page, under Mac OS, we have Jamf device compliance. Assigned is yes, but partner status is pending activation. The partner status is not activated. That means the integration is not complete. So at this stage, you need to go back to your Jamf Pro tab. And in Jamf Pro tab, if you see configure compliance partner has a confirm button now, which is enabled. You need to click on that confirm button. And as soon as you click on confirm button, you see that your device compliance verification status is success. You now have your device compliance configure for Mac OS. I have my two groups here, CFG device in compliance group. CFG device applicable test group, and the integration is set up. And now if you go back to your Intune portal, and if you go to partners compliance management, under Mac OS, you see your partner status is active. The integration is completed. You don't have to do anything. But last part is, now you need to make sure the end user register to Azure AD. For registration to Azure AD, we need two policies. So in Jamf Pro, we will create two policies. The first policy is for Intune company portal application. This will be a push deployment. So this will run once per computer at check-in. Okay, so you can deploy this on all devices, or you can deploy it on phase by phase manner with multiple groups. Okay, before end user register their device to Azure AD, they need to make sure, or you as an admin need to make sure company portal application is installed. Okay, so if you see the first screenshot, that is a screenshot where I am installing a company portal app on my Mac devices. And on the second policy is a self-service policy, which is for Azure AD registration. Okay, and in this policy, the scope is Intune company portal install. That means I have a smart group criteria where I said application title is company portal app. That means all those devices which already have company portal app installed, only those devices will see this policy, and end user has to register the device. Obviously, if you want to see how end user can register and all those experience, ping me on our Telegram group. I will show it to you. I would have some recordings and I can show you one by one. Okay. Once user register the device to Azure AD, what will happen? If you see, we have three screenshots. The very screenshot says that SAM MacBook Pro, okay, is enabled, and the Mac OS is 13.2.1, and it is Azure AD registered device. Okay, obviously I registered this from a test user account. Okay, but if you see, the MDM is labeled as none, and the compliance status is not applicable. This happens because the device is just registered, and Jamf Pro has not shared the inventory with Azure AD, and hence you will see not applicable. But after some time, as soon as the Jamf has shared the inventory with Azure AD, you can see that SAM stars MacBook Air, okay, with 13.2.1, which is again Azure AD registered device. The MDM is Microsoft Intune. Obviously, it is still Intune because the integration uses Intune services to share the compliance status to Azure AD. But important part is, as my device is under compliance group, my device is labeled as compliant. This device is compliant. The criteria for my organization is Mac has to be encrypted. My Mac was encrypted, and hence Jamf Pro said this machine is uh, compliant, and the same is labeled in Azure AD. In the last screenshot, what I did is I just turned off encryption. And if you see, as soon as I turned off encryption, Jamf Pro was aware of it. The Mac went out of the compliance group. As soon as Mac went out of the compliance group, the Azure AD status for the same device was changed from compliant to non-compliant. And as soon as the device goes in non-compliance, we all know that it will have restricted access or no access. Depending on your conditional access policy in Azure AD, maybe end user will be prompted for a multi-factor authentication, or maybe the access would be blocked. But yeah, these are the device compliance status which you will see in Azure AD. These entries will not be visible in Intune portal. It is only available in Azure AD and not Intune portal. Okay. Lastly, we have a table here where I have tried to showcase what is the difference between Intune conditional access and Jamf device compliance. So if you see, Intune conditional access is actually supporting iOS, Mac OS, Android, and Windows. versus Jamf Pro device compliance only support iOS and Mac OS today. The integration of Intune conditional access is we need to integrate with Intune portal. Okay. And once Intune portal is registered, and when user register the device entry is created in Azure AD as well as in Intune. Okay. But for device compliance in Jamf Pro, it is a standalone feature within Jamf Pro. And when we integrate this with Azure AD, Intune is nowhere in the picture. So it's a standalone feature in Jamf Pro. Functionality with Jamf Intune conditional access, you enable conditional access policy based on device compliance criteria in Intune. But in Jamf device compliance, you enforce the device compliance policy on Mac OS and iOS in Jamf Pro. So you write the criteria in a smart group, and the criteria, based on the criteria, the compliance is checked. And all this compliance is calculated within Jamf Pro. You don't go to Intune for compliance or calculation. It happens within Jamf Pro. Compliance criteria. This compliance criteria is configurable in Intune because it's an Intune conditional access. And for Jamf Pro device compliance, it is configurable within Jamf Pro in a smart group. We can add certain criteria for compliance calculation. In Intune, it is password complexity, encryption, software version. In device compliance, you can do encryption, screen lock, passcode complexity, and software versions. Okay. When you have Intune conditional access into picture, you cannot automate the remediation. But with Jamf Pro device compliance, you can automate the remediation. For example, imagine a device was encrypted and someone's end user has turned off the encryption. You can send an automation through a policy with a script prompting an end user that we see your device went out of compliance due to file vault encryption. Please click here to encrypt your device, and you can start that workflow. Clicking here goes to policy user, again help user to enable or encrypt the device. That is one way of automation or automatic remediation. The second way is if the device goes in non-compliance, and if you don't have a solution to automatically remediate a device, Jamf Pro can also send an email to your support group stating that, okay, this particular device has came out of compliance, and a support group can go to that device in Jamf Pro, work with an end user, and bring back the device to compliance. Okay. Quarantine, Intune conditional access cannot quarantine anything. It is based on device compliance policy. Enhanced with Jamf Pro device compliance policy, as soon as the device goes out of compliance, we can quarantine the device. That is, we can restrict the device access. Okay. We can maybe prompt an MFA to end user. This is how you do it. Or during quarantine period, we can also inform end user and support group, okay, this machine has gone out of compliance, and end user is restricted, end user has a restricted access, and Mac support will work with end user and fix the issue. So these are very high level differentiator between conditional access and device compliance. Maybe one more to add is with device compliance, it is very ease of use for Mac admins because everything is configured in Jamf Pro. It is very easy to configure. The compliance is calculated within Jamf Pro. So from a Mac admin perspective, device compliance is helping Mac admins. Two screenshots on the workflows. Okay, again, this is from Microsoft Slides. Okay, if you have Intune conditional access workflow, so imagine your MDM is Jamf Pro, and you have integrated with Intune. So when an end user register the device and Jamf Pro share the inventory and the condition of a device to Intune, Intune go through Intune services to Azure AD for compliance check, and Azure AD checks the compliance status and send the data back to device. The device is compliant or not compliant. But with Jamf Pro device compliance workflow, we are skipping Intune entirely. So what happens is the end user's device conditions are shared with Jamf Pro, Jampro calculates um, the criteria based on smart group, and Jampro shares the compliance status through Intune services to Azure AD for compliance and non-compliance. So we are completely skipping Intune portal, which was between previously, and we are using an MDM partner device compliance API to directly talk with Azure AD. So we are skipping Intune. So this is something which is going to help us. I know this was very small topic, but it was very critical topic to understand, and I could not share any videos during this session. But if you guys need any help, integrating your Champro with Azure AD or configuring device compliance, please feel free to talk to me, reach me directly. I also have India MacAdmins community in Champ Nation. Please scan the QR code, and feel free to reach me on Champ user community. Reach me on LinkedIn. You can reach me on Telegram group. I am here to help you guys. With that, thank you.